I'm Dr. Michael, and what I'm about to tell you will haunt me for the rest of my life. 7 years. That's how long Claire Thompson was trapped inside her own body, fully conscious, hearing every word, feeling every touch, screaming silently while the world treated her like she was already gone. I was her neurologist at Boston Memorial Hospital. I examined her every month for 84 months straight. I told her family she couldn't hear them. I told them to consider withdrawing life support. I was wrong. And the moment I discovered the truth, the moment her finger moved during a routine exam that should have been meaningless, everything I knew about consciousness, about comas, about the thin line between life and death, shattered into 1,000 pieces. This is the story of how one woman survived 7 years of psychological torture and how she finally found her way back to tell us what hell really looks like. Claire was 28 when the car accident happened, T-boned by a drunk driver at an intersection 3 blocks from her apartment. Severe traumatic brain injury. Glasgow Coma scale score of 4. The emergency room doctors gave her a 10% chance of survival. But Claire was a fighter. She survived the first night, then the first week, then the first month. But she never woke up. Her eyes would open sometimes, tracking nothing. Her body would move reflexively. But there was no Claire inside. Or so we all believed. Her husband, Nathan, sat by her bedside every single day for the first year. He'd read to her, play her favorite music, tell her about his day. "I know you can't hear me," he'd say through tears, "but I need to believe you're still in there somewhere." If only he'd known the horrifying truth. She heard every single word. By year 3, Nathan had started dating again. Claire's bed faced the window in the long-term care facility, and she could see him arrive in the parking lot with a woman named Vanessa. She watched them hold hands. She heard him tell the nurses, "I think Claire would want me to move on." She couldn't scream, couldn't cry, couldn't beg him to wait just a little longer. The worst part? The conversations the medical staff had at her bedside. "She's a vegetable," one nurse said during shift change. "Waste of a bed, if you ask me." Another time, 2 residents discussed her case while reviewing charts. "Brain dead for all practical purposes. Family should pull the plug." Claire heard it all. Every cruel comment, every hopeless diagnosis, every conversation where people debated whether her life was worth living. And she couldn't tell them they were wrong. The psychological torture was unimaginable. To be fully conscious, fully aware, trapped in absolute silence for years. I'm ashamed to admit that I was one of those doctors who gave up on Claire. Monthly neurological exams became routine. Shine a light in her eyes. Check her reflexes. Document no change in her chart. I stopped talking to her during exams. Why would I? She couldn't hear me anyway. Medical textbooks said so. Her EEG patterns showed minimal cortical activity. Her brain scans showed extensive damage. Every indicator screamed, persistent vegetative state. But here's what those textbooks don't tell you. Consciousness isn't binary. It's not on or off. It's a spectrum, a gradient, a mystery we're only beginning to understand. Claire was caught in the twilight zone between worlds, and I, with all my medical training and expensive equipment, completely missed her. I missed the slight tension in her jaw when I said something particularly clinical. I missed the imperceptible change in her breathing when I mentioned her family. I missed everything. Year 7, month 2, February 14th, Valentine's Day. I was running late, rushing through exams. When I entered Claire's room, there was a single wilted rose on her bedside table. Nathan had moved to Seattle 6 months earlier, got married to Vanessa. The staff was preparing to transfer Claire to a state facility, a place where she'd receive minimal care until she eventually died. I was documenting one final comprehensive exam before the transfer. "Claire, if you can hear me, I need you to try to move something, anything." It was a throwaway line, something I said mechanically, knowing nothing would happen. But then, I saw it. Her right index finger, the tiniest, almost invisible twitch. My heart stopped. "Claire, did you just move your finger?" Another twitch. Stronger this time. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone. "I need you to do it again. Move your finger if you can hear me." Twitch. Oh my God, she's been conscious this entire time. I immediately ordered a functional MRI, a test we should have done years ago, but insurance wouldn't cover for vegetative patients. The results came back 48 hours later, and they made me want to vomit. Claire's brain showed patterns consistent with conscious awareness. She could hear. She could understand language. She could form thoughts. She'd been locked inside her paralyzed body for 7 years, listening to everyone declare her dead. The ethics committee held an emergency meeting. Some members wanted to sue me for malpractice. Others wanted to keep it quiet. A medical error this catastrophic could destroy the hospital's reputation. But I didn't care about any of that. I cared about Claire. We needed to establish communication immediately. A speech therapist named Dr. Elena Rodriguez developed a system. I'd recite the alphabet, and Claire would twitch her finger when I reached the right letter. It was excruciatingly slow, but it worked. Her first sentence took 40 minutes to spell out. I heard everything. Over the next week, Claire communicated her nightmare. She'd been fully conscious since month 3 post-accident. She heard Nathan tell her he was giving up. She heard the nurses mock her. She heard me tell her parents to prepare for the worst. She heard 2 orderlies making jokes while moving her bed. She heard everything. And it almost destroyed her mind. "I tried to die," she spelled out one afternoon. "I tried to will my heart to stop. But I couldn't even do that. I was trapped in hell, and nobody knew I was suffering." The guilt was crushing. How many other patients were conscious but couldn't communicate? How many people had we given up on too soon? Claire had lived through something worse than death. She'd lived through being treated as already dead while fully aware. Then she spelled out something that made everyone in the room freeze. Nathan told me he loved Vanessa more. While holding my hand, I heard him propose to her. In my room. Dr. Rodriguez brought in a team of specialists from Johns Hopkins. They implemented an aggressive rehabilitation protocol, something they should have tried years ago. Within 2 weeks, Claire could blink deliberately. 1 blink for yes, 2 for no. Within a month, she could move 3 fingers. By month 2, she could turn her head slightly. The progress was astronomical. Her brain had been screaming to move for 7 years, building neural pathways in silence, waiting for the chance to reconnect with her body. A physical therapist named Jordan worked with her 8 hours a day. "Claire's not recovering," he told me one evening. "She's finally being allowed to show what she could always do." By month 4, Claire spoke her first word in 7 years. It was barely a whisper. Her vocal cords atrophied from disuse. But everyone in the rehabilitation room heard it clearly. Why? Why did this happen to her? Why did we give up? Why did nobody notice she was conscious? I had no good answers. 6 months after the finger twitch that changed everything, Claire could sit in a wheelchair, use a modified computer with eye-tracking technology, and communicate fluently. The hospital offered a settlement, a massive payout, a public apology, anything to avoid a lawsuit. But Claire didn't want money. She wanted accountability. She agreed to an interview with a medical ethics journalist. The story went viral. Woman trapped in coma, heard husband move on, doctors give up. The medical community went into crisis mode. How many other patients were we missing? New protocols were implemented nationwide. Mandatory functional MRIs for all long-term coma patients. Enhanced consciousness assessment tools. Training for medical staff about the spectrum of awareness. Claire became an advocate. She founded a nonprofit called Locked in, not lost. Dedicated to improving diagnosis and care for patients with disorders of consciousness. But the personal damage was irreversible. Nathan saw the news story. He tried to visit. Claire refused to see him. Today, Claire can walk with assistance. She lives independently with adaptive technology. She speaks at medical conferences about her experience. And she's writing a book about what it's like to be conscious in a body that won't respond. A memoir she's calling The Prisoner Inside. Last week, she came to my office for a follow-up appointment. "Dr. Michael," she said, her voice still slightly slurred but determined. "I don't hate you. I don't even hate Nathan. But I need you to promise me something." I waited. "Promise me you'll never give up on another patient. Promise me you'll always assume they can hear you. Talk to them. Treat them with dignity. Because somewhere, trapped in silence, they might be listening. They might be hoping. They might be surviving one word at a time." I promised. Claire's case changed my entire career. Now, when I examine coma patients, I talk to them like they're fully present. I explain everything. I tell them not to give up. Because after what I saw with Claire, I know the truth. Consciousness is resilient, mysterious, and far more powerful than any medical textbook can explain. If this story moved you, hit subscribe and the bell icon. I share medical mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about the human body. Drop a comment about a time you witnessed something medicine couldn't explain. And click the video on screen about the patient who woke up speaking a language she never learned. Trust me, that case will blow your mind. Because sometimes, the most extraordinary medical mysteries aren't about curing disease. They're about recognizing the invisible battles happening right in front of us.